Are you thinking about going to the caravan show? Or whether you're thinking about going there to buy a caravan or not, this video will give you some helpful information about how to get the best out of the show. I'll also be giving you a helpful hint about how to stop those pesky salesmen bothering you when you're walking around the stands. In this video, I'll cut through the confusion and give you some essential information that you need to know. And this is from a dealer's point of view. So I'll be talking about some of the things that we do when we're prowling the stands, trying to look for people to turn into customers, including some of the psychological tricks we use to create rapport. And that's the key to selling a caravan, is creating rapport with a person to turn them into a customer. Now, it does sound like a bit of a dark art, but if I tell you exactly what to look out for, when you start to hear these little things turning up into conversation, you can think, what's he trying to do? It's quite interesting and it's a little bit of fun, really. And I can guarantee you there isn't any other caravan sales experts that are going to be telling you this stuff. I'll be getting to that a little bit later on. Stay tuned to the end of the video because there's a question I've always been wanting to ask. So I will ask that at the end of the question. Also, I'll be telling you what a B-back is and whether you could potentially be one. So what's my show background? Well, I started doing the shows in 2004 with Fleetwood and I've been doing them ever since. I've only stopped doing them recently because I stopped selling new caravans because of all the other things that have been going on with some of my other videos go through. And also the shows have changed. We used to be able to go to the shows and get kind of 10 or 15 sales out of them. But there's not that many people actually go to the shows to buy caravans anymore. That's certainly my experience anyway. I used to be quoting, I used to be turning around and someone else would want a quote or someone else would be asking something. But it's turned into a kind of a different environment where people go to have a look around and get some ideas and see some of the other things that are at the show. But actually buying caravans, the amount of people that go there to physically buy a caravan, I think has reduced. Well, that's certainly what I see anyway. So I don't go to the shows anymore when I used to, but I've been doing them for the past 20 or so years. And so I have learned a little bit about them and how they work. And there's lots of things I've seen that just make me go, oh, why did you do that? So that's what I'm going to be telling you in a bit. So what are the caravan shows and how do they work? Well, it's a little bit unique, I think, because there aren't that many shows where you can go to and actually buy the products. I know the car shows and the motorbike shows, they don't do this. All they do is they put on the stands and the manufacturers will go there and show their new products. And that's what Swift and Bailey and all the other manufacturers do, especially the October show. It's a good gauge for them to see what's going on in the market. They can see how many caravans sell there, so they can kind of plan their schedule further on down the year. Now, this year is going to be a bit different, I think, because of what's going on and some of the things I've spoken about in my other videos with the market slowing down, and there's a lot of stock around at the moment in 2024 stuff around. So it might be a little bit different. You might go to the show and be offered the same kind of caravan, but a 2024 at a vastly reduced price. So it might be a good place to actually go and get a bargain. Obviously, as well as the manufacturers, there's all the supplying dealers are there. So you have Alco and Truma and Power Touch and all those guys are there. There's also lots of other stands selling all kinds of things from crocs to sausages all the way around the stand. So it's worth a visit even if you're not buying a caravan. It can also give you lots of ideas about where to go on holiday. A lot of the European caravan sites are there, so it can kind of give you a few insights into how they work. And it will give you a good idea of what you can do and how to plan your caravanning year into next year and beyond. Now, if you are looking to go there to buy a caravan, the most important thing I can probably tell you is to do your research, both on the caravan that you want and the dealer that you want to deal with. Now, how the shows work is that the manufacturers put on their stands and they invite lots of different dealers to go and walk around the stands and try and sell their products. Now, I've been in a position before where I've overheard a conversation with a dealer next to me, and the customer said, "So, where am I picking my caravan up from?" And they said, "Oh, North Yorkshire." And I said, "Yeah, but we live in Brighton." And the conversation hadn't got to that point to actually where the dealer was, because the dealer doesn't really want to mention it in case it puts the customer off. So that's one of the most important things to do, is do your research and find out what caravan you want, because there's so many caravans there. If you go in there blind, you can be bamboozled by the sheer amount of caravans that are on the stands and all the different manufacturers that are there as well. So if you work out your layout, work out what manufacturer you want to deal with mainly. There will be one or two that you could probably look at, but you can also whittle it down so that you know that a specific manufacturer doesn't do that layout. For instance, we have lots of people coming on the Swift stand asking for single beds. they don't do single beds. So the customers come all the way over looking for single beds, walk around the stand for half an hour, eventually ask one of us, only to discover that they don't do single beds. So the best thing you can do is go through all their brochures, have a look online and discover what layout you actually want. And sometimes you can rule out a whole manufacturer because they don't do that layout. So therefore you don't waste half an hour walking around the stand looking for something that's not there. And like I said, it's just as important to do the research on your dealers as well, because you will be parting with a significant amount of money and you want to know that it's in safe hands and you want to know that you'll be getting a good service. So before you go to the show, have a look at your local dealerships and see where you want to deal with. You'll probably know who they are and maybe have dealt with them before, but if you go further afield and look at some of the big dealerships, you'll get an idea of what their customer service is like by going on Google and maybe asking on the forums and things like that. A good tip is if you are walking around the stands and you don't want people to hassle you, from salespeople to come up to you and ask you, which you will get a lot. If you say you're actually buying from a specific dealer or you've spoken to X or Y, there's a bit of an etiquette on the stand where we won't try and kind of butt in with that deal. If a salesperson does try to do that, kind of tells you what kind of person they are, and you probably wouldn't want to deal with them anyway. If they're trying to force you into saying, "Oh, I'll beat their price" or anything like that, then that's the kind of person I'd stay away from. So, like I said, you need to narrow down your choice of caravan, and one of the best ways to do that is take my course on how to buy a caravan on My Ideal Caravan. There's a link to it around about here somewhere, and also there'll be a link in the bottom. Now it takes you from start to finish, so if you want to know what your tow car can tow, again, if you go to the show without knowing these kind of things, you can waste valuable time and effort on trying to find out whether this tow car that you have is able to tow a specific caravan. Now that can waste time actually in the show and become stressful. The best thing to do is work that out before you go, so you know exactly where you are. So if you did the course My Ideal Caravan, it will probably give you lots of prompts on questions that you didn't think you needed to know, which would be a good thing, which again can save you time and money when you actually go to the show. Also, I'm putting fault finding diagnostic tools in there. So if you do end up buying a caravan and you sign up to it and you're out on site and something goes wrong, chances are the answer to that problem will be there as well. So it's not just a how to buy a caravan thing, it's also a fault diagnostic tool as well. So if you want to sign up to that, that'd be great. There is a link up in the top corner, and also I'll be putting a link in the description at the bottom after the video as well. But once you think you've made your decision, it's then important to get into the caravan. The amount of times I've had people who think actually on paper this is a perfect layout, and then when they get into that caravan, it doesn't feel quite right. There's something that you can't quantify on video or on the internet until you actually get into it in person. It might feel claustrophobic, it might feel that you don't like the way it flows, something like that. So it's very important to actually get into the caravan and sit down in it and soak it all up just to make sure that you're okay with it. Now this can be easier said than done at the show environment, so it's best to pick your day or when you actually go. I would say if you're really serious in buying a caravan, you need to go in a weekday. Saturday and Sunday are just bonkers. You can't get in anywhere. It's horrendous. You're trying to get into a caravan and there's 10 people in it. You can't really sit in it and experience that caravan to its full potential. It starts on a Tuesday. That's normally Caravan Club Day, and unless you benefit from the Caravan Club thing, it's probably worth staying away from that. Again, we get lots of people there and not many people buying, so it does get rather busy on Caravan Club Day because I think they offer a discount or something like that. So if you're serious about buying a caravan, I would say Wednesday, Thursday are probably the best time to go. That's certainly our quietest days in the show. The only downside to that is there's normally lots of salesmen milling around looking for people to sell caravans to. But like I said, if you use that tip and say you're with a certain dealer, then they'll probably leave you alone. Also, it goes round as well, so we all talk to each other. And if you're actually seriously looking between the two, and someone and one of the dealers goes to approach you, we normally say, "Oh, they're with so and so," to save them from doing it as well. So that is a good way of stopping people from hassling you on the stand. After 2 o'clock, it tends to slow down a little bit on the stands as well. But again, there's lots of dealers milling around trying to find those sales, so you might have to run that gauntlet even more then. But it is probably a good time to really get into all the different caravans, especially if you're looking between one or two different layouts and maybe one or two different manufacturers. It's a good time to go because you can spend a bit of time in the caravan and really get the feel of it. Now, I did say I'd tell you a little bit about the psychology of how some of us salespeople deal with trying to get people to buy. There's two schools of thought. We get told not to ask closed questions. You need to ask open questions, such as, what do you think of this caravan? Now, what that does from your point of view is it gives you the ability to be able to tell us what you think, but it also, from our point of view, it means that you're not saying no to us. So it starts a conversation, and then we're supposed to build rapport by agreeing with you. And that's one school of thought. So if you get asked, oh, what do you think of the caravan? You know exactly what's going on. That salesperson is trying to get some information from you and then build rapport. There is also another way of doing it, which I found out after years of doing this. There's a thing called the amygdala that's in your brain, and it's designed to help you. It's the fight or flight portion of the brain that keeps you safe. So it's constantly scanning for danger. Now, obviously, in the show environment, there's lots of danger around because you're looking around and seeing all the people dressed in suits with their clipboards and everything, and you're seeing danger because they're going to approach you and they're going to try and sell you a caravan. So you're in a high state of danger when you're walking around the show. To disable the amygdala, what we do, we get you to say no. So rather than say, what do you think of this caravan? I would say, can I help you at all? Now, you're not supposed to do that as a salesperson because that's a closed question, and that gives you the opportunity to say, no, I'm okay, thank you very much. Now, that should be the end of the conversation. But I actually found out that I used to do this when I was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was bored. I'd just go up to someone, do you need any help at all? And they would say no. And then I'd stand there because there was nowhere else to go. And they would say, what does this MTPLM mean? Or is this got ATC? And I saw a pattern in this, thinking, well, they've just said that they don't need any help, but they clearly do. Then I worked out by seeing some other people on YouTube and doing a bit of research that getting the customer to say no was actually disabling the amygdala. So what happens then is, as soon as you say no, they've done some research on the brain, all the activity in the amygdala drops away completely once that word no is said, because as far as it's concerned, the danger's over. You said no, that's it, no problem at all, you can't get hurt. And then the amygdala kind of fades away, and then we actually get access to the questioning side of the brain. So the rest of the brain goes, well, actually, yeah, I have got a question. And then we get asked a question. And I kept seeing this over and over again. And I asked my friend to actually check this out for me. I said, just do this. And he came back and he said, yeah, I stood there. And then I waited for about 4 seconds and they asked me a question. So that is the danger point from your point of view. If you say no to a salesperson, they might well be thinking, right, I'm going to wait a second because I know for a fact that you want to ask a question. And now I've disabled the amygdala and I can start talking to the decision part of the brain. So try to avoid saying no. That will keep your amygdala going and scanning for danger everywhere. Is the show a best place to get a deal? Well, it depends on what you think is a deal. If you just want as much money off as you can possibly get, then yes, what you can do is go around all the dealers and say, I've been given this price. I don't care where I'm going to get it from. I just want the cheapest van I can possibly get. And like I said, at this show, you might be able to do that because there would be lots of 2024 product around, which you would probably get a significant amount of money off. But you can certainly use the show as that kind of environment. You can go to some of the bigger dealers will do better deals. I'd say better. Again, it depends if you want just money off and you're not too worried about service, because that's the difference. If you are really getting down to the nitty gritty and trying to get as much money off as possible, then the service side of it may well not be so good because they haven't got any money in it to look after you. But if you're not worried about that, then great, just go around and get as many prices as you can off as many dealers as you can. Generally go to the bigger ones that have got their own stand and say, oh, they said this and they said that, and then see where you can go. You will get lots of money off, especially, like I said, in this environment where there's quite a lot of product around, and I would have thought that some of the bigger dealers are trying to move stock off their forecourts just because they've got too much. Now, to me, a deal isn't all about money. Again, if you want a service and a level of service, then I would strongly recommend dealing with your local dealership, or as local as you can possibly get. Now, I have got a whole video on why other dealers will not do non-selling manufacturer's warranty. So if they haven't sold you a caravan, they perhaps won't do the warranty for you, especially if they know that you've gone to the show and you got a deal because you wanted to save some money, and then you go into that dealership and want their warranty work done. Have a look at that video, that will explain that a little bit more. But if you can deal locally, if you find out who your local guys are and deal with them at the show, that's the best thing to do. You might not get such a good deal as in money off, but it will pay dividends, because if it's just down the road and something goes wrong, you can take it back there. Also, what I see fairly often is if you have a part exchange and a price is promised to you, if you then have to travel 300 miles to pick your caravan up and they find an issue with your caravan when you get up there, for instance, it's got water ingress, and don't forget, I have heard this 1,000 times. You can be as sure as you can possibly think you are that you haven't got water ingress, and you have got water ingress, even if you've had a service done by someone. I went to pick a caravan up the other day. They had a full service done, absolute clean bill of health, had £3,500 worth of damp in it because the service wasn't done correctly. So just be aware that if you do get that deal that is fantastic and they're going to give you a price on your caravan, if you go up there and you're 300 miles away from home, you are more than likely to just say, right, okay, well, I've got to stump up this money. If you're 5 minutes down the road, you can get that dealer to come and have a look at your caravan, or at least you could take it in there to get it appraised before you actually do the deal, so you know exactly where you are. The further you travel, the more likely it is that you're going to take the deal because you've put all that energy and effort into going up there. So just be very careful of that. Make sure you know where that dealer is. Make sure that you get a fixed price. But again, that fixed price is always subject to checking it out, regardless of whether you've had it serviced every year and you think you haven't got water ingress. I would strongly recommend dealing with as local as you can possibly deal. The other thing we've spoken about in one of my other videos is how to protect yourself against a dealership going into administration. I was at the show actually when Discover Leisure went into administration, and yeah, on the Friday there was just a rope across it saying we're not operating today, and that was the end of that. So protect yourself. The best thing you can do is not give too much of a deposit away. I was generally asking £500 deposit. Some dealers will say £1,000. That's around about where you should be paying for a caravan, especially if they've got it on the books already, or it's one that's coming in. If they've had to order it in specifically for you because it's not a model that they've got, they might ask for a little bit extra, because if you do pull out, then they're going to have to cover that issue because it's not a layout they wanted. But I would say £500 to £1,000 deposit should be enough. Also, pay that deposit on a credit card. Do not use backs, or a debit card. Use credit, so that if they do go under, you're going to have a lot more protection on trying to get a lot more chance of getting that money back if they do go under. Then we have dealer specials, and that's not going to be so bad this year actually, because Swift historically would give any manufacturer that wanted to buy enough caravans a dealer special. Now that was really awkward because it made it very confusing, because you'd see the same kind of caravan but slightly different on different dealer stands. So White Arches might have a dealer standout and they would have their specific dealer model there that is pretty much exactly the same as the every other dealer that was doing a dealer special. You can put on heavy duty corner steadies, pleated blinds, you'd have a different upholstery, there'd be a locker on the outside, there'd be various things that actually are quite good, but it would always be a bit confusing to the customer because they'd walk onto the Swift stand and see the Alpine 2 or something, and then they'd see another version of it which is called something else with a different upholstery. So it's a little bit more money, so it was always a bit confusing. Now Swift, I believe the last time I spoke to someone, are stopping doing that. They're actually only offering one kind of generic dealer special which some of the dealers can take on. So it'll be interesting at this show actually to see what happens there, because you won't be walking onto a dealer's stand and seeing a different type of Swift that they're trying to sell you the benefits of over and above the standard, which is what's been happening fairly often. It was always a bit frustrating when I was trying to sell a standard product, and then someone comes on, oh, I've seen this this dealer special and it's got this and it's got that and it's a little bit more money, and it was always a bit frustrating for us. But that's just commerce, that's just the way it is. If I could have afforded to have my own dealer special, that's exactly what I'd done. I would have done. So that will not be so bad this year, I don't think, because I think Swift are just making one generic one. So you'll see, you may well see it on other people's stands, and you might even see it on their stand. I don't know what they're going to be doing this year, but it won't be so difficult to understand, you know, what you're kind of looking at this year. Now, some of the other manufacturers, I don't think they really do dealer specials, so it isn't so bad. You might see something that's called something slightly different, but it won't be significantly different from the standard product. That's most of the things I have to say about the shows. They're fantastic places to go to buy a caravan and to have a look around, but you do have to make sure that you protect yourself, and also try and work out what you want before you go there, both caravan wise and dealer wise as well. Do your research on that. Now, you may get approached by a dealer that you really like really like the person that you're dealing with, and they're really genuine and you'd love to deal with them, but just make sure that you know where they are and you know how far you have to travel. Actually, one good tip actually is, if you want to know if your sales representative that you're dealing with is truthful and honest, if you ask them the question, can I get my warranty done anywhere in the country? If they say yes, not a problem, you can take it to any dealership, then they're lying. Walk away from them. That isn't true. If they say no, look, it is a back to base warranty, unfortunately, and you may find that if you take a caravan to a local dealership, they won't do it, then they're being truthful, and then that doesn't help, because then you want to deal with them more, but then you have to make a decision whether it's worth the risk or not. You could find an approved workshop that's local to you that will do the warranty. I used to carry around a list of all the approved workshops in the country, and 9 times out of 10 a customer would actually know the company, and if they don't actually sell caravans, they're much more likely to want to do the warranty work for you, because that's what they do as a living. They're not trying to sell you a caravan, they just want your servicing work and your warranty work, because that's how they actually make money. So you could have a look at the approved workshop schemes website and have a look around your local one. Actually, if you do use My Ideal Caravan, if you go to the AI part of it and ask it a question and say what approved workshops are around my area, the county, then they'll all come up. So that's another thing you can do. But if you find a workshop that will do the warranty, then that kind of opens you up to being able to do a deal, you know, with the person you want to do a deal with, or maybe, you know, be able to get an extra £1,000 offer somewhere. But don't forget, you still got to go and pick it up. So a £500 saving 300 miles away isn't a £500 saving. So you just got to be a bit careful with that. If it is all about the money, then by all means go around all the dealers and get prices. You probably won't make any friends, and they'll probably be talking about you behind your back, but you're going to get the best deal that you can possibly get. So what was that question I wanted to ask? Well, historically, we all do things the same way at the show. Is we work for our own individual dealerships, and we go on the stand, and we stand on our manufacturers that we're supporting, and we try and sell for our dealership. Now, I got into a position fairly often where a customer wanted to deal with me because I kind of told it like it was, and I would say, look, if I don't think this is the right caravan for you, or look, you don't want to buy it from me because I'm miles away from you, and because I never used to like dealing with people from a distance, because it would give me problems. I'm slightly different to a lot of the dealers that were there, because it was my company, because I was selling you a caravan and I handed it over and I dealt with the warranty. Well, not all of it, my wife did as well, she's not listening. So it was a bit different for me, because I had to be consistent. If I told you something at the show, I'd be the one handing it over. So if I got it wrong, I'll be the one getting in the neck from you. So I didn't like to deal with people if they were too far away, because I couldn't give you the service that I wanted to give you, because it was down to me. Now, again, a lot of dealerships out there have people that aren't worried about that. All they want is the deal, because they're never going to see you again. Just be aware that that is going on. And the question I wanted to ask was, would there be a value in someone like me being a kind of a shopper for you. So I could meet someone at the show and I could be completely impartial and I completely unbiased. I could tell you what caravan you should probably have, and also what dealership to deal with, and maybe get you a better deal. So I wondered if there was any legs in offering that service to you as a customer, to be there to help you buy a caravan. I obviously have done all my research already, so I know what caravans are on the market. I know exactly what dealers and manufacturers do what caravan, so it could save you a lot of time and energy. I'd probably be doing a lot of research before I even went in there, because I know exactly what you wanted, and it would really kind of streamline down that process for you. I don't know if that's anything that would be of interest to anyone. If it was, put me a comment in below, and then maybe we can do something like that. I think it'd be quite good fun to do. The other thing I was going to mention is, what is a B-back? We try and sell caravans at the show, and what happens is you spend half an hour or an hour with a customer, and then you give them a price, and then you speak to them, and then the customer says, right, thank you very much, I'll go and think about it and I'll be back later. And that's when your heart sinks and you go, oh, it can be a B-back. So then when you're walking around the stand later on in the day, you may well hear dealers talking to each other, say, I've got two B-backs coming back. Now, I would say more than 9 times out of 10, a B-back never comes back. But if you've had a rubbishy day and you haven't sold anything, what we do as a salesperson is we cling on to the fact that we've got a B-back coming back, and they're definitely going to come back. They're going to walk on the stand at 4:30 and buy that caravan, because that's what they said they were going to do. Now, we all know that isn't probably going to happen, because you as a customer, you don't like to say to someone that you just spent an hour with, right, thank you very much, I'm never going to see you again, that was great, I've got all the information I needed, and I'm off. You're not going to say that. But when you say, right, thank you very much, I will see you later and I'll definitely be back, it's just a nice way of saying I'll never see you again. Now, there is very, very rare occasions when that does happen. And when you see that customer walk back onto the stand, because you're craning your neck looking around for all your B-backs, because you're kind of hanging your hat on those things. You think, right, I haven't sold anything, but that customer is definitely coming back. I can guarantee it. I can feel it in my bones. And then when they walk onto the stand, it's a fantastic feeling to see them. Then sometimes they'll walk back on and say, right, we're going to go and measure our drive. And that gets really annoying, because you think, well, if you're going to buy a caravan, you should have measured the drive before you get here. So again, it's something that we know is a way of saying, right, we're not going to be buying off you. That's really what it means. So you could turn into a B-back and you'll find yourself saying, we'll be back later. Just think, oh, do I really mean that? It is a tricky thing for a customer to say, no, thank you very much, I won't see you again, or however you do it. But it is a kinder thing to do, I would say, is be honest with the salesperson. Say, right, it's not for us, we'll go away and think about it, and we probably buy off our local dealer. Now, if the salesperson has done his job correctly, I would have said that they would probably get to that point first. I always ask that. It's really frustrating when you've been with a customer for an hour and they will only buy off their local dealer, but they don't realise that you're not working for Swift, and they speak to you for an hour, and you've just wasted your time. So I've done that time and time again, and then worked out that that's not the best thing to do. So if a salesperson's any good, they will get to the bottom of where you live, what part exchange you've got, because don't forget they're working out whether they want to deal with you as well. If you've got a part exchange they don't particularly want, then they might not be able to deal with you, so they'll probably pass you on to someone else. Yeah, if they are any good, they would have probably qualified you and worked out where you are, whether you are dealing with someone else already or anything like that. So you might not get to that point if the salesperson knows what they're doing, and they won't want to waste an hour or so with you knowing for full well that you're not going to be buying a caravan off them. So you might not get into that situation, but newer people who haven't been on the scene so much, they might find that they're learning and they haven't actually qualified you well enough. So yeah, if you say, oh, I'm going to be, I shall be back later, just think, no, I probably won't be. But it doesn't matter, that's what it is. It is what it is, as they say. So there we have it. Like I said, that's how to buy at a show. Just be careful, especially with some of the dealers being a bit fragile this time. Just make sure that you use credit cards and everything if you're going to be buying, and make sure you know where you're buying it from. So there you go. If you did find this video interesting or helpful, then please like and subscribe, and maybe pass it on to other people who are thinking about going to the shows. Like I said, I don't think anyone else will be telling you this stuff, especially not the advanced sales techniques thing. There's not many people who actually know about that, but it is bubbling under the surface of every interaction that you will have with a salesperson. And whether the salesperson knows it or not, that's exactly what's going on with the amygdala and some of the chemicals that we try and get into your brain to make you more malleable. I know it sounds horrible, but it's the way it is. So yes, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.